This is Chapter 10, Lesson 1, The Shoshone. Build background. In 1868, Chief Wasasaki of the Shoshone Native Americans explained his relationship with the region's white settlers. I fought to keep our land, our water, our hunting grounds. Today, many Shoshone people live on their ancestors' land because of the chief's efforts. People of the mountains. In the past, the Shoshone lived east and west of the Rockies. This included western Wyoming and Montana, central and southern Idaho, and parts of Utah, Nevada, and Oregon. Find them in other Native American groups of the region on the map below. The Snake Nation. The Shoshone and their neighbors, the Bannock, are also known as the Snake Nation. When the first white explorers arrived in the region, the Shoshone identified themselves by moving their hands in a swimming motion. This meant that they lived near the river with many fish. To explorers, the motion looked like that of a snake. The Snake River is named for the Snake Nation. Different ways of life. The Shoshone were made up of different groups. In the west, they lived in roofless grass huts and hunted fish, birds, and rabbits. In the north and the east, the Shoshone lived in teepees, rode horses, and hunted buffalo. Northern Shoshone, such as the Lamai, once lived on the plains in Montana, but rivaled Blackfeet, Hidetza, totally not saying these names right, so forgive me, guys, and other groups drove them to the mountains. The northern Shoshone moved from place to place for food. In between buffalo hunts, they ate roots, berries, salmon, and small animals. The first white settlers to come into contact with the Shoshone were fur traders in the early 1800s. By the 1860s, many more settlers began arriving in Montana and Idaho in search of gold. The settlers brought horses and cattle with them that grazed on Shoshone land. The settlers also hunted in Shoshone territory. As the grassland and buffalo began to disappear, many Shoshone grew concerned about protecting their land. Chief Wasaki. Chief Wasaki, a noted warrior among the Shoshone, did not believe in warfare with the white settlers. He thought instead that both groups should help each other. He assisted the United States against warring Native Americans such as the Sioux and Cheyenne. In return, Chief Wasaki asked for schools, churches, and hospitals to be built for the Shoshone. He also asked for a reservation in the Wind River Valley, which was originally given to the Crow. The United States government decided that the Crow had not kept to terms of an earlier agreement. In 1868, it gave the Wind River Valley to the Shoshone. Big Fort Bridger Treaty. On July 3, 1868, Chief Wasasaki signed the Fort Bridger Treaty. A treaty is an agreement in writing between two or more groups. The Fort Bridger Treaty was one of the last treaties signed between the United States government and a Native American community. The Fort Bridger Treaty established that the Wind River and Fort Hall reservations for the Shoshone Indians. The Shoshone did not have to move from their land as other Native Americans had been forced to do. Yet the Shoshone's originally 44 million acres of land was reduced to less than 3 million. In addition, by signing the treaty, Chief Wasasaki gave permission to the Union Pacific Railroad to build a rail line that went through the Shoshone land in western Wyoming. Read the following excerpt that describes how the Shoshone would live once the treaty was signed. The Indians herein named agree that they will make said reservations their permanent home, and that they will make no permanent settlement elsewhere, but they shall have the right to hunt on the unoccupied lands of the United States, so long as game may be found thereon, and as long as peace among the whites and the Indians on the borders of the hunting districts. The Shoshone today. Today, many Shoshone live on reservations in Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada. The Shoshone and the Arapaho Indians share the Wind River Reservation in Fremont County, Wyoming. In 1876, the Arapaho were forced to give up their land and move to the Shoshone Reservation. The two groups did not always get along, which made life difficult. However, today both groups equally rule the Wind Reservation with two separate governments. The Fort Hall Reservation is located along the Snake River in southeastern Idaho. Members of the Shoshone live there with the Bannock tribe. The reservation's name comes from the trading post that was built on the Shoshone Winter's Ground near the Snake River in the early 1800s. On the reservation. Many Shoshone live and work on the Fort Hall and Wind reservations. They work on farms and stores and run a number of different businesses on the reservations. These include galleries of Native American arts and crafts and historical and cultural centers. There are also several Native American reservations in the Four Corners region. In Unit 1, you read that the Four Corners is located where the borders of Colorado, Utah, and Arizona and New Mexico meet. The Ute, for example, live in Colorado and Utah. Festivals. Today, the Shoshone participate in festivals that honor their culture and history. On the Wind River reservations, powwows are held in the spring and summer. People dance, sing, and talk together. The Shoshone-Bannock Indian Festival is one of the most popular Native American celebrations in North America. It is held in August every year at the Fort Hall reservations. The Wind River Reservation is the only reservation in the United States where Native Americans could choose where they wanted to live. This was because of the treaty Chief Wasaki signed. When he died in 1900, he was buried in Fort Wasaki. This is the only military fort in the United States to be named after a Native American chief.